No? Did you say that?
Yeah, you
She showed.
can start February.
Let's go.
Oh. I feel
All right, good morning. Good evening.
It's been that kind of day.
Yeah, it's been that kind of year so far. So much. All right, tonight I'm bringing to you for your first viewing is the superintendent's budget for 24-25. Again, as Dr. Gainey mentioned, this would be the same information that you guys got back in January when we met with our county commissioners. So in your packet, you've got the budget packet, you've got the letter, the superintendent's budget message, and then it goes into the, this sheet is probably what you're familiar with from January, and that's the local budget request form. I'm ahead of myself here. All right, the first on current expense request, again, the total is $2,084,200. What is included in that is $732,200 for continuation costs. That would be any of our matching increases that we have from the state, whether it be retirement or insurance. Any salary, legislative salary increases is in that amount. Charter school payments, we've increased that. Liability insurance, workers' comp, unemployment, property insurance, those sorts of things, that's a 5% increase, as well as $1.2 million in there. I'm sorry, let me back up. Those are items in the continuation cost, and also the energy, garbage, and fuel increase of 5%. So in 5% increase for liability, the insurance products, and then 5% for the energy and garbage and fuel. So those items total $732,200. Then the next item on the continuation or the expansion cost was $52,000, and that's for an additional contribution to the school resource officers. If you remember, for several years we've been paying a flat dollar amount, a contract amount, to our sheriff's department for those officers in the amount of $555,000. Last year we increased that locally by adding $114,000, which got that amount up to $669,000. So again, we're trying to get closer to the market value. And so this year we have requested an additional $52,000 in the 24-25 current expense budget. And that, if approved, then that total would be going to the SRO commitment of $721,000. Again, that gets us closer to that market value. I think we're still a couple, 3 years off from getting, right at that number. But for now, it's working towards getting, a little bit closer to that as we go. Third item is the supplement increase. That will be a 1% increase across the board. So that would move our classified from 5.25 to 6.25. That would move our teachers from 6% to 7%, lead teachers 6.5% to 7.5%, supervisors from 8.5% to 9.5%, and directors from 10.5% to 11.5%. Principals, our elementary principal and APs would move from 7% to 8%. Middle school APs would move from 9.5% to 10.5%, and high school principals and APs would move from 12% to 13%. Again, across the board, 1% increase would cost $1.2 million. And then finally, the special transportation cost of $100,000, and that was to bring some attention to what we're having to pay out for additional transportation costs. That includes homeless, that includes foster, some special EC transportation, behavioral type issues, also with some other students. That's just, over the last several years, we've spent a tremendous amount of money doing that. And so $100,000 would help offset that additional cost a little bit. So we asked for $100,000 there. So that's your current expense, your local current expense request. Again, that's $2,084,200. If you remember too, when Todd brought you the budget in the fall, late fall, we're now budgeting a little different than we were. So this is by purpose instead of by line item like you used to see. So Fund 2 for the revenues, you've got $26,846,240. That would be the total budget for revenues. So of that, $25,846,240 is in the county appropriations. That's that $2,084,200 that we're requesting additional funds. Fines and forfeitures are left at $100,000. Again, so that total is $26,846,240. You see here of the increase of $2,084,200. Expenses, again, we have now budget by purpose. So our instructional services is $9,704,200. System-wide support services is $14,766,140. Ancillary services, $221,000, and non-program charges, $2,155,000. So that's how our expenses are broken down throughout our current expense budget. We've got an increase again of $2,084,200. Many of those line items include the supplement cost, and then those other items that we talked about on the previous page. So that would be your current expense. Capital outlay, our revenues, the total should be $3,215,223. County appropriations, and this is the same amount we got last year, was $2,165,223. And then county appropriations construction, which is that 9-year plan that we've got. I'm not sure what we're calling it now. I think the improvement plan, county improvement plan, or capital improvement plan. That's the $950,000 that we've been getting from commissioners there for the last couple of years. And then the activity bus fund. That's when we actually charge back to schools using our activity buses, and so that goes into a fund. And then once those funds reach a certain limit, we're able to purchase new ones. So that's still at $100,000. So again, no increase on capital outlay. And then in capital, all of our expenditures fall under the 9,000 series. So that's in purpose code. So that's $3,215,223. Again, no increase for capital outlay. Moving down to school nutrition. Now, this is the first time you've seen that because it was not, part of our commissioner meeting when we met with those folks. So revenues in the school nutrition area include state and federal resources, and then local and other sources. And under the local and other, it's sales, reimbursements, interest, miscellaneous operating expense, appropriated fund balance, and that sort of thing. So up in the revenues, state and federal, that's where a majority of our funding comes from for the school nutrition program. So USDA school lunch program is $8,756,500. That's actually a slight decrease from prior year of $88,914. U.S. commodities, we saw an increase there, and that's donated food to the school system through the USDA. That increased by $38,928.88. And then the USDA fruit and vegetable grant, slight decrease there, $5,000 for $20,000 for that grant. I'm not going to go through all these resources, but if you want to ask a specific question, I'll try to answer it for you. But the other local and other sources for revenues equated to $2,775,200, and that's an increase of $94,000,000. So below are the expenses again, budgeted by purpose. Ancillary services, $7,000, which is a majority of where school nutrition falls, is $11,836,390.31, and then the non-program charges at $432,500. So their total budget for next year would be $12,268,890.31, with a $39,128.88 increase for school nutrition. Moving on to Archdale Trinity and the special school tax. Did increase that slightly to reflect what they were actually bringing in for supplemental tax. So for that, we've got budgeted $2.8 million there, or a $253,000 increase. Supplemental prior year tax, I left it the same at $16,000. Tuition payments, I did increase that slightly to $45,000. So that's $7,000 more than prior year. And interest of $10,000, which is $4,000 increase there. So their total revenues will be $2,871,000, or $264,000 across the board there. increase. Expenses on this particular fund, majority of it is in instructional services. So we've got $2,708,000 there, and then system-wide support, about $163,000 there. Again, increase of $264,000 with the Archville Trinity supplemental tax. And finally, is our Fund 8. This is specific revenue or that we've got there. So we've got revenue sources from state and federal, and then local and other. State and federal was $2,156,000, and other and local sources is $1,099,000. So that budget is a total of $3,255,000, and then the majority of those services, it's sort of split between instructional and system-wide support. So in instructional, or the 5,000 series, is $1,559,600, and then the system-wide support is $1,695,400. So that's your Fund 8 revenue and expenses. Behind that, I showed by the PRCs where the funding was. So you've got that for each fund. So you've got your local current expense, your capital outlay. Again, you can see by, for example, this teacher supplements in 001, that's where a lot of that funding goes to, the non-instructional support. A lot of that is the classified supplement there. System-wide administration, you've got some salary increases and supplement increases there. Transportation increases, that was mainly salary, and the additional $100,000 from our request. 069, there's the $52,000, the additional funds there that we've requested for the SROs. And then total maintenance services, that's also included salary increases, insurance increases, things like that, and supplement increases. So again, total for Fund 2 would be $2,084,200. Under the capital outlay Fund 4, there's not a lot of changes there, not any changes actually. So that's $3,215,223. And then Fund 5, got a total budget of $12,268,890.31. Fund 7, $2,871,000 for Fund 7, and then Fund 8 is $3,255,000. Those are the different areas that are broken down for both of those areas. And then the last page of the budget is the performance, the school performance from the school system, the letter grade. So that is, I think that's a requirement, isn't it, in legislation?
It is. It was put in as a requirement in legislation 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay.
So it's the appendix we've been adding to our document to cover that legislative requirement.
So that final page in the document is the report card for our different schools, and as Dr. Amy mentioned, that is one of our requirements. So I threw a lot at you at one time. I know we talked a little bit about it last week. Do you have questions about the budget? Or again, it's pretty much what you saw back in January. So this will sit, as Dr. Amy mentioned, this will sit, so it comes back to the board in April for approval. And we go the next day, we've got a meeting scheduled with Will Massey over in the county, and we'll take our budget for the end of next day.
I want to remind board members too that the capital outlay, none of that would include the monies that would come for, and a lot of people get confused on this out there, if anybody listening, the monies that would come from building new schools would come from a separate type of capital outlay. We actually have 3 types. The money generated by ADM, the 9-year plan, which is now just the facility upgrade repair plan, because it's gone over in year, 10 now, Marty, I guess it is now, because it started that far back. And then there's however the commissioners would fund the building of new schools, which would be through bonds of some type.
There's one.
Thank you, Marty. Okay, board members, the next item is will be presented by Dana Albright Johnson, our high school director. And she's going to share with you something that came through legislation in the 2023 legislative session. So, Dana.
Thank you.
And good afternoon, board members. I'm glad to share with you this afternoon some news and updates from high school. And the good news is that you only have to remember two numbers here, and that's 3 and 22. Unlike Mr. Trotter's presentation, that was a lot of numbers. So as Dr. Ganey said, school systems are now required across the state to have a 3-year 22 credit graduation. And we did not have anything in place for that, and so we worked in recent months to put something together. And so I want to share with you the key points about that. The first is that this will allow high school juniors to graduate early under certain circumstances. And we do expect it to be more an exception than a rule. We believe the majority of our students continue to benefit from the 4-year plan. It's important to note that innovative high schools like our early college would not fall into this situation because the purpose there is to have students complete additional credentials and courses in addition to high school, and that takes longer. The state has provided to us a 3-year track, and that we're expected to follow as much as possible for those students in the 3-year plan. That's okay. I'll jump you around on you, Ms. Reed. And we like for our students to stick with us because we have a lot of wonderful opportunities in our high school in terms of social activities like the prom and all the things that go along with graduating across the 4 years, our CTE programs, and the opportunity to gain college courses and credit over time. We hope that our students will say to us before they enter 9th grade that they're interested in this plan. However, students can join at any time. In order to be eligible to graduate early, students must be 16, have completed 3 years of high school, and if they're 18, then they wouldn't require parent permission, but otherwise we would need them. We recommend that students involved in this program would have plans for higher education, enlistment, or the workforce. And even though it just begins for the next school year, students already in high school might take advantage of this situation. And so we'll be working with our counselors to identify those situations and work through that this spring. And I would note that our master schedule doesn't have to be adjusted just to accommodate students who might fall into this situation. I've shared with you there are the 3 key steps in the process. There's an initial application that the student completes with the administrator and the counselor and the parents. I feel like I blew something up.
Nothing smoking.
Okay, good, this time. And in that, there'll be a conference along with the application. They'll talk about the student's future plans and the implications about discontinuing services like child nutrition. Later on, the student will share an intent to graduate, and the parent will confirm that it's okay, and the student will move forward with it. There'll be an application at that step that goes on to the superintendent, and that'll include attachments from the counselor, such as the transcript. The superintendent will then respond within 45 days. And I just wanted to follow up with just showing you what the Future Ready Core 22 credits are. That's what students would have to complete within the 3-year process in order to qualify. Any questions?
So what do we have, 26?
We have a 28
28?
credit plan.
Do you think a lot of people will jump on that?
We have had a few inquiries, but less than a half dozen across the school system at this time.
That's gonna eliminate them sports.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think Dana, and I know she's talked to the counselors and the principals, we have to get a handle on the front end because understanding a master schedule at the high school level is very complicated. And so the big bulk of the awareness of who wants to do this. It needs to come in ninth grade because it's gonna, and I love the statement, and I hope everybody that sees this presentation realizes that maybe watching, there's not gonna be a requirement of a high school principal to change his or her master schedule. We'll have to, if somebody pops up in 10th grade or 11th grade, first thing we have to do is find out if they satisfy these credit requirements. And second thing is there availability? So anybody interested in this is going to really have the best chance of success is going to need to let us know when headed into ninth grade. And that's where our emphasis will be because it concerns me. I'll just say that. Those 28 credits is a big process.
Opportunities if you stick. I said students could really miss out on a lot of opportunities that, I mean, to me, that's just, I mean, when you have something that's been working for a long time and then what are they thinking?
What is the push? Is like, are we behind other states? Is like this something that's been like
Well,
everywhere else across the
there's
US?
one version out there, Ms. Whitaker, that there will be opportunity scholarships for students when they leave early to go to future educational opportunities. Now, I don't know what that looks like, but what I do know is we have a large number of students going through performing arts programs and enjoying every moment of it, and every year continuing to improve and enjoy and make great accomplishments there. We have career technical education programs that have pathways, and as somebody who has watched those initiatives grow over time, whether it be the performing arts programs or and there are two that jump out at me right now during the school day. So then we go outside the school day and we have the athletic programs that children moving through 4 years versus 3 years. I worry about that because there's a lot of learning that goes on in all of those avenues, whether it be during the school day or after school day, and go to the clubs, go to the student government. What about that child who entered student government involvement as a freshman? Now we're taking away a possibility of being an officer as a senior. Or the beta club is huge. We see kids going all over the country with beta club, wherever that national beta club competition is. Well, now we're going to take 3 years off of that. So I personally don't completely understand it, but it's a piece of legislation we're going to honor. But we're going to continue to, and many of my colleagues, I'm not going to get into right or wrong about the piece of legislation, but I know many of my colleagues will continue to highly recommend 28 credits, and let's see this thing through 4 years. I saw a lot of children as a high school principal. There was a noticeable difference between 9th and 10th grade. There was a noticeable difference between 11th and 12th grade. In fact, I used to love to watch when the school year ended, kind of guess what that 9th grader was going to be like when they came back as a 10th grader. Also, what was that child going to be like when they came back as a senior? And they were, I have full confidence in Dana and our counselors and our principals. Their discussions are rich discussions. I have full confidence they're going to do what's right for kids every time it comes up. I appreciate, Dana, one of the hard statements to put in here. This is leadership right here. Students already enrolled in high school may opt into the accelerated graduation path. That's leadership right there, because we know there may be a child that pops up in the middle, and and I heard her say we're going to take care of kids, or what your comment was of that effect. So we're going to do the best we can with it, but we still want our high school students with us 4 years. We still, and when you looked at the course, you can't just say I have 22 credits, I want to go. It has to be the right 22 credits. So there's sequencing of that. And when I think about, what if we have a group of students who all of a sudden want to do this, we might have to convert some classes or take away some sections in other curriculum areas to make sure we have enough seats in senior English so they can take senior and junior English their third year of high school. And that's when we start taking away opportunities for all students. So we'll watch it and we'll do the best we can. I know Andrea's going to be working with allotments. We'll work at that best we can. But some of this stuff we won't know until we get into it. So
Who come up with that?
All I know is it came out of legislative session. And, you know,
That's like, my thing is, you know, let's be for real, we know there's kids out there who just don't like school. Let's just put it that way. And you get these kids that's, all right, I'm gonna sign up for this. Then they come to their junior year when they get this 2 Englishes thrown on, 2 maths thrown on in that junior/senior year. And then they fail, then they gonna wind up there their 4th year anyway. I mean, how's that drifting up?
Yeah, that's tough.
that's gonna be a, you know, when the block schedule started, I know some people that dealt with the block schedule in the early 90s, and there was, even back then, there was a lot of conversation about courses that were sequential, not letting them get too far apart. Well, this can force a lot of other courses in other areas, like the English is being fall semester, spring semester, and it may not be as advantageous to students to not have the break from, you know, they could be sitting there, where's that list, Dana?
It's actually, attached in the.
You have Earth, Environmental, Physical Science, and Biology. Well, that could be squished right there, and somebody doesn't really like science or it's strong.
I mean, I hope these parents realize when they sign on for this, they putting a demand on their kids, and if, my thing is, like I say, let's be for real. You know, if the kids ain't strong in school, but they see this opportunity to graduate early because they want to graduate, and they take all this could be setting them kids up to fail.
Yeah. Well, the beauty of it, this is gonna, our adults that know our students are gonna be very involved in the conversations, and that's gonna help. So,
I mean, to me, it sounds like we're going back when I was in school. You got the same amount of credits, but you have that subject all year long, and they're just converting back to that by using the block schedule. I mean, it's basically the same thing.
Is there a way out for these kids? If they sign up, decide 2 years into it, it's not what they want to do, they can revert back to traditional?
Drop out.
I don't think people realize how skilled, how much flexibility and maneuverability that gets applied to the high school schedule right now. I would always make them decide our counselors and our principals to make that situation work back if need be. Because we got people that care about kids, and they're gonna see that and know it's about the child.
'Cause I think that
That's
would
what it's
pretty well
about.
happen when
Yeah.
you get 2 math classes in
Yeah.
a year or something like that.
Thank you, Dana.
Thank you very much.
Great job. Okay, next up is David Cross. He's gonna come and present another item that came out of the 2023 legislative session that we don't think will have as much impact on our scheduling, but it will have an impact on students' choices.
This is only 4 slides, I promise. You can scroll down. So, as Dr. Grady mentioned, this is the newly legislated computer science requirement. Just to put it out there, this is an unfunded mandate, so we're having to think creatively to try to make this happen. We have the resources and strategy to do it, but I'm excited about our plan, and I'm excited to share it with you. So just a little bit about it. It just passed recently, and the whole overview of the requirement is going to be, they're going to get computer science skills. A lot of our current jobs and pathways are going to require some sort of technical skills. Like computers are pretty much in every field now, and I do see value to having these skills with our kids. We have computer science in all of our middle schools, and we do have it at different pieces across our high schools. So this was, overwhelming. It got passed by both chambers. By a majority, and pretty much what it's saying says this will allow schools to add computer science as part of standard course of study. We already have that built that in our middle and high schools, and it's going to be required. It's going to affect next year, but it's giving districts opportunity to pursue waivers, and it will be full effect. It will become law for the freshmen that enter the 26-27 school year. So the long-term employment projections do see a lot of computer science skills, mathematical occupations, and it's supposed to grow at a pretty solid rate. So I just want to make sure skills have the technical skills to keep up with future job growth.
So go back. So this is going to add another requirement to early graduation, correct?
yes, it will take one of their elected spots, because what essentially is happening with this, so look at it this way, Mr. Bowles, the early graduation is taking away 6 elective opportunities, which are your CTEs, your foreign languages, your performing arts. So you take 6 off the board, but now you take one of the remaining 6, so there's 12 total. You take one of the remaining 6 and says it has to be computer science, unless, what David's gonna talk about, they could possibly take care of it in middle school. So,
All right, so we're having to think creatively because there are no extra positions to do computer science, and we also want to try to maintain our current programming because we do not want to try to, just shut down other existing successful programs to meet this requirement. So I like our plan. So here, again, going back to the overview, so having this mandate, so it's pretty much saying that 1 credit computer science is going to be required from every kid. If you pursue the waiver, that will start for the freshmen of 26-27. The law technically goes into effect at 24-25. It's not going to increase the number of credits, but it will reduce the number of elective credits by 1 that Dr. Gaines alluded to. The computer science course list, it does give you a lot of options. So I am appreciative of the flexibility of this. So there's a litany of courses that can satisfy the requirement. I think there's 3 pages of different options. And so what we're trying to figure out is what's going to be a good lift for our kids and our instructors to make sure it's going to be effective and that we can do this on a consistent basis. So that course list was recently approved December 7th, and over the past 2 months, we have worked to develop this projected plan. They have also, this is the part I think is going to help us, is the state board did approve 6 high school courses that we can offer at the middle school level. So we already have computer science in all of our middle schools. We offer computer science 2 and 3 and 7 and 8th grade. We are looking to put this option in 8th grade to help us with the lift for high schools. If for currently students that take this course at the middle school level, it's not going to go to their GPA, it's not going to be a credit towards graduation, but it will check the box of them satisfying the requirement. The school systems can pursue a waiver. We plan to do that for the next 2 academic years. That'll give us time to successfully build this course over 24-25, implement it in 25-26, and then have it ready to go for 26-27. That will make sure that high schools can maintain to offer the current program that they're currently doing and give us time to develop an accelerated pacing guide that we can put in place for our computer science teachers in 25-26. So here is our plan. So currently this spring, we're working to make sure these high schools have the pathways that will help meet the computer science requirement. So Eastern Randolph High School, they have a business teacher out there. We're moving her to Adobe Visual Design 1 and Adobe Visual Design 2. What I like about Adobe, so over the past 3 years, we've been doing this middle school career development plan. We're tracking the data to see what kids, what career clusters they want to do to help meet future demands and what they want to do at the high school level. So this meets a lot of the interest for kids, and it's also a very highly sought after credential by our local employer. So both those credentials meet the top 10 employers list across the nation. So excited about the Adobe, and a lot of kids are really flocking to Adobe. It's really much graphic design is what it is. Providence Grove, last year we started with CompTIA IT Fundamentals, Computer Engineering 1 and 2, both meet, all 3 of those meet the computer science requirement. Early college, we don't have a CTE footprint there, we don't have CTE teachers, but there are 2 CCP options that we can build more sections. We're going to work with RCSS to develop more sections, make sure they're taken care of, and that is CIS 110, Intro to Computers, and CIS 115, Intro to Programming and Logic. So we will work with them to make sure they have enough sections to make sure all the early college kids are taken care of. Randall High School, they currently have CompTIA IT Fundamentals, Computer Engineering 1 and 2. Southwest will also move towards Adobe Visual Design. Trinity High School, they'll go to Adobe Video Design. Weaver High School has 2 different pathways of Adobe, and then URA 612, we're working with that teacher to make sure they have Adobe as well, so he's excited for that. We're going to be working over 24-25 to develop this accelerated pacing guide. The high school course we're going to offer in 8th grade is called Introduction to Computer Science. We're doing a course revision right now at the state level, so we will work with our 7 computer science teachers to make sure they are well prepared and trained and have the resources necessary so we can offer this in 8th grade, okay? And that'll cover about 60%, I imagine, doing the rough math, and then that will make sure we can offer our normal programs like normal at high schools, no extra lift, though we can offer our normal sections and pathways instead of us having to try to pile drop all these students through all these sections at the high school level. So offering in 8th grade will really take the squeeze off high school scheduling, and it'll give a noteworthy course, a highly skilled, highly relevant course in 8th grade that all middle school kids will get a chance to offer. So that's what we're leaning towards. We're also looking to think creatively for virtual students, virtual academy. We're gonna try to develop an iLearn course next year, so that could be in place. So a lot of different options. And then again, CCP will help kind of meet the rest if they don't get it in one of our CT pathways. And so our 25-26 plan is we are going to, this will be in year 2. We're gonna maintain our same high school course offerings such as shared. We're gonna have this introduction to computer science course ready to go. We're gonna work with RCC to create more sections of the 2 courses I mentioned, and then we will offer at least one iLearn option. We will pursue the waiver for 2 years, and it'll be full effect 26-27. So that is the plan. Any questions, thoughts?
So David, for a point of clarity on the courses that you listed, could you add to that? Explain. So we're capitalizing on students' interest and what's already on the ground at these different schools.
Yes, sir.
Changing out the Adobe, changing out there to the strengths of teachers and what they're able to teach. So we're trying to capitalize on our resources on the ground now, because otherwise, as David mentioned right off the bat, this is an unfunded mandate. So you see the Adobe is multiple places. That looks like the Adobe 1 and 2 looks like a very common, or it is a common theme across this. Some of the schools have some specialty areas, but that's how when I look at this, that's what the goal is to use what we have and not try to reinvent the wheel, but maybe change out some courses.
Yes, sir. And so in all of these courses, we definitely talk with principals, we talk to counselors, we talk to CDCs, we've looked at student data. This has definitely been months of planning to get to this course list. We also trying to figure out our 4 business teachers that have no computer science background, like what is going to be something that's going to be in their wheelhouse too. And I feel like Adobe checks all those boxes. So it's something that we can train them. It provides an engaging curriculum. It's a highly sought after credential from employers. So we feel pretty good about the Adobe presence.
And just credit to DPI, they went through and identified these courses. I was in a meeting and I was just looking. They immediately identified 82 high school courses that are offered throughout the state that satisfy this. So it's not that we have all 82, but there's courses are on the books in somebody's class catalog in multiple places. And they also identified, looks like David they identified 23 courses that are already being taught at a middle school level. You heard David talk about doing something at 8th grade, like with the Math 1 situation where kids sometimes take Math 1. There were 23 courses they found statewide that were already being taught in middle school that would satisfy this high school requirement. So DPI really full court pressed this when it came out, because I received some of this information in January in a meeting, and it was very informative. So I credit them for trying to make this unfunded mandate work for us.
Questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, David. Board members, our work session is not going to be real long today, but I appreciate Dana and David and Marty. Obviously, Marty's presentation is something we deal with every year this time, but we felt like that Dana and David need to bring these out formally. So the rest, this will be in our program of studies. Is that correct, Dana? The 22 credit is in program of studies. And so now it will be dealt with at school, between school level, Dana, Meredith, Weepert, and the principals and the counselors. So want to point out one last thing in your work session packet. You see the schedule of events. Obviously, the schedule continues to get smaller as we go. I'll get you a new one as we get closer to July 1. But want to just point out some special events we have. May 9 is retirement dinner. May 20 is the employee recognition night, which is having a certain work session time. And then I think last board meeting I mentioned, we have the budget dates now, June 10 and June 17. June 17 is when the commissioners will actually approve the budget. There is a public hearing on June 10, and I will present the budget formally to the commissioners on May 28, which will be, we have what Marty shared today, what I shared in January, and then it'll be May 28 at the courthouse will be very similar to January 8, I think it was. We had our board meeting. And speaking of that, I don't know that they'll be back in the courthouse. Their meetings for several months now have been at the county government office where they used to have their meetings way back, I guess. I think they're doing some renovation or HVAC work at the courthouse. So I'm assuming by May they won't be back in, but maybe, I hope they are, but I don't think they will. So board members, this is all we have. Is any questions about anything we've shared today?
I'm just thinking that, we came here early to be here to 5:50, so we need you to entertain us for another 30 minutes. I mean, our time is money. I mean, we're.
I can tell you some stories if you need to hear them, but staff may have heard them. They'll listen to them and act like they haven't heard them before, but I think some might be wrapping around now after time, but.
I told that little old lady, she had to hurry up and get an ambulance, because I had a meeting to go to.
I can't believe you pushed her though. I mean, she was okay.
Well, I mean,
Ambulance quick as I could.
here's the deal. I gave the three presenters, we gave them the whole hour and a half, and they were very efficient, so I don't know.
Hey,
Dana
we
would like to go back.
appreciate
Dana she can do 2.0, David can do 2.0 and 3.0, right?
I know we're ready.
But, at any rate, I'm sorry, it was, shorter. I'm sure you wanted to go right up to
What
6.
we could do is go ahead and get the next work session over. Have it ready.
Well, we can plan that too if you like, but, so this is what we have for today. So we'll be ready for the board meeting, have some good stuff tonight in the board meeting, and,
We got an attorney, we could have a closed session. Get it over with. I would be nice. Is she here?
no, she,
You can't do it without her though. Larry, do you have your license? You can do a lot of things. Can you do that?
I'll turn my mic off.
Turn your mic off on that one.
We all.
You'll all be locked up, Larry. Larry Chilton. Attorney at law. Barney was MD. Mayberry deputy, remember? Does anybody have a law degree?